We are here thanks to EA Sports FC to go inside the mind at Tottenham Hotspur with the manager himself, Thomas Frank. Thank you so much. We spoke a year ago.
Yeah.
We're back again for more insight. Thank you so much for sharing a bit of time with us. We're going to go through a whole host of scenarios on the tactics board. Let's get into the first one. The first scenario is talking about the second game that you played, an away match against Manchester City. A Manchester City that has been hugely successful, but was in a bit of a tactical kind of evolution. And you went very positive, assertive, with a quite high press. And for the whole game, and football now, pressing is a huge talking point. How do you feel about pressing kind of generally?
Yeah, but I'm a big believer of pressing forward, pressing aggressively, pressing high. Always want that because I think it creates like energy into the game. So it's like it's a defensive side of the game, but where you do it in an attacking way, with an attacking mindset. So if you're high up, let's say we are the red, and you're high up around the goal kicks, you're very aggressive, you're very forward thinking, and if you can win it up here, you can maybe score as a second goal. I think the other bit can be a little bit too passive in my way. There's no right and wrong. It's just I'm very energetic. I want to be front-footed, so that's what I believe in.
So in terms of you guys scoring that first goal, which was superb in terms of going literally from your own goal kick to scoring a goal, in what kind of felt nearly like a counter-attack because of that press from Man City, would you mind talking us through how you got around that press?
There's a couple of things. Of course, you can go long directly on goal kicks. You can play short and try to combine through the middle. You can go out on the side. I think it's different strategies. There's nothing right, nothing wrong. We decided that we wanted to play a little bit to the side. I think Holland came here and cut the line. They put the pressure. We played it out to Peter Porro here. And there was a situation where you can play a straight ball into Mo's good left foot and go on the inside. But of course, it's a tricky situation because you got pressure from the back.
Yeah.
And then you can actually run a little bit in the channel. So there's like coming into feet, or you're running in behind. And in this situation, I think the City player, I can't remember who it was a little bit front marking. That means that the left side centre back was Diaz. In that situation, we're going for the long ball here. And I think Richie just timed it perfectly, and I think he actually stepped the City defender. And then he made the flick, and then we had Richie down the side in that situation. And then the opposite side here, Brand Johnson is extremely good at timing his runs. So even that they were sprinting back, so we have a massive advantage now. And Brandon was so good to get in this area in front of the defenders. And then it was easy tapping. It's not easy because you come at full pace and they need to beat the goalie. So I think that was one way to do it. In general, I believe you need to have variation in your strategies. Because if you only go around, it'll be too easy to read at a certain point.
Yeah.
If you only go long and in behind, it's too easy. If you only play short, it's too easy. So you need a little bit of a mix from game to game or in general.
On to scenario two. You're known for your sort of tactical flexibility. You've got a great squad here. I just wanted to touch on a couple of players, 3 players, 2 new signings, and a striker that's kind of had a lot of minutes this year and is a great character, Richarlison. What has he been able to bring you this year in what's been a great start?
First, it's been very nice to see him fit and available. I think it's always the player first, and I think he's done a very good job in terms of doing everything he can to, maximize recovery, gym, training hard, all that. But as a player, I think he's very, very good inside the box. I think he has great movements and arrive in the right positions, because you need to be have a big resilience to constantly do the same movement-ish, because you get bored and suddenly start to go into different situations, then it's tricky for your teammates to hit you. So for example, let's say the ball's over here and we want our striker either to arrive here or there. He needs to constantly do it and not suddenly do something like that or pull too much to the back, because this is where the goal will be scored, for example. So in general, I think he's good at that. Or you are ending a little bit in the front of the back 3, where he, for example, scored the 2 goals against Burnley in the start of the season. So I think he does that well. And I would say he's a real team player. It's just nice to see him having a good start to the season.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 new signings then. Kudus on the right-hand side and Xavi Simons. Xavi Simons in that Leeds game played in a bit more kind of central area.
He played more 10, yeah.
He did. Is that kind of where you see him sort of being and thriving?
Yeah, I would say that Xavi Simons can play. He can start off the left. He can play as a 10. I would say no matter where he starts or starting position, I think he needs to be able to drift into this kind of area where he will find space, hopefully, From there, he can create. I think that's what we need. We need him on the ball to create moments, to create actions, because we can have nice patterns in terms of how we want to do things. But sometimes you need players to do a little bit intuition or off the cuff to produce that. And hopefully, he can also arrive a little bit more in the box, because 85% of all goals is scored inside the 18-yard box.
FC26 completely agrees. They've put Xavi Simons' play style as incisive pass and inventive. So he's come through the door, but also Kudus has as well. What does he bring?
Yeah, he's been fantastic. We just actually watched the Leeds game back. He was clearly the man of the match. Not only the goal, but exceptional actions on the ball, but also his work rate. I think Kudus' defensive work has just been boom, through the roof. He constantly wants to go 1-1 against opponents and he can go both sides, making it so unpredictable. I think that the crosses he produced, either going on the outside or on the inside, is so dangerous, and I'm so happy that he got into that position where he got his goal, finally got the first goal for us. But he has definitely been the main player, the main guy that has created. We need more from others, and that will come, but very, very happy with that.
Coming into this job, last year, I think you conceded the 16th most goals Tottenham did. What were you excited to kind of get into the group when it came to that defensive side of it? Because I watched that Leeds game as well, and Kudus, the way he was constantly kind of running back. When it comes to stopping goals being scored, like what's so important to you?
The best teams where every 11 players are working very, very hard, because it needs to be very difficult to break you down. And I think we got a better and better foundation, and that's everything from getting quick onto the ball, make sure we are compact, make sure we're very aggressive, but also we are very good in the high pressure. But that I think defensive solidness is extremely important. I think it's quite obvious that the team that actually are achieving something big, most likely they score a lot of goals, maybe the most goals, but maybe they score a lot of goals. But one thing is 100% sure, they concede the least or the third least if they want to achieve something. So that's massive. So if you don't tick this box, it's impossible to achieve something massively big. Of course, we also need to score a lot of goals. We want to be very offensive and do that as well, but this is key.
And speaking about defensive actions then, the three players here, you've got Vicario, Romero and Van der Ven, who've been big to that. So on FC26, when it comes to that centre-back pairing, Romero is very highly rated when it comes to slide, tackle, aggression and jumping. And then Van der Ven, of course, is 95 when it comes to speed. But so much more than that they bring. They are the foundation of this team, and they're in the leadership group, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. But I think leadership, the more players that we can have on the pitch that take responsibility, the more players that are communicating, the more players that are helping each other, the better. Because let's say Mickey Van der Ven can have a bad game, and if you have a bad game, you struggle a little bit. It's difficult sometimes to communicate to your teammates, and that's where QT needs to step a little bit more up, or Destiny, or Jet, or Petro, or Palinja, or whoever it is. So we need the more that can do that, the better. But of course, you have this triangle that is very strong, constantly communicating to the team. Then we'll be in a good place.
I think you've been able to manage games really, really well this season. The game against Leeds, you brought Danso on and went back to that 5 just to kind of see out the game. Well, just wondered about your thoughts on game state, depending on where you are within the game, if you're winning it or not. Do you want to kind of just play that same way regardless? Or because I was thinking with some of those stats that are maybe playing more long balls than others, part of that might be down to the fact that, look, we're winning the game here, let's just be kind of careful. What are your kind of views on that with the team? Because I know you want the team to be as positive as possible.
Yeah, definitely want to be as possible. Let's say we played away to, let's a good example with Leeds. They changed a little bit their formation to go to 3-4-3, or depending on how you see it, and they put also one more extra striker next to Calvert-Lewin, and played more direct, more balls into the box. So we're thinking, should you go with a 5, 3 centre backs, match it up? So that was the thoughts behind it. And then on goal kicks, in the end, the last 10, instead of playing up open shape, we decided to push everyone up, because as we showed against City, I think if you play short too much there, the risk is bigger. Yeah. But again, I'm a big believer, if you don't take risks, you also take risks. So you need to find that right balance. But at that stage of the game, where they're pressing more, we badly want to win, then I think there's something in going a little bit longer in that stage. So it depends. If we were in perfect balance, that didn't put pressure on us, then I wouldn't change.
The fourth scenario, which you're in right now, is that you've got a team that's very young. 24.6, I think, is the average age of the starting 11s.
How is that compared to the league?
I think that's the third youngest in the Premier League this year. What are the advantages of that for you, and what are the maybe challenges?
That's a good question. I think there's always something in experience. Of course, it's good. I don't think that's the only thing you can have. I think there's also something in the being a little bit younger, a little bit more, you can say open-minded, a little bit more free sometimes. But I think it's all about getting the right balance.
And I guess one exciting advantage is maybe the amount of games that some of these younger players have played. The age is a number, but experience, that they've all had a lot of minutes.
Yeah, I think the minutes and games is so key, because that's where you really learn it. It's out there in the heat where everything is on. That's where you learn the most.
And is there a balance between rotating but giving them the minutes? Is that something that's kind of on your mind with this year?
Yeah, I think it's, of course, the best players playing. And I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. Of course, I think it's a mindset. How many games you can play? Of course, you can play another one, one more, and you can go again. And why are we playing football? We want to stay out here, play. I want to play all the matches and 90 minutes and all that. But there's also something in a little bit physical freshness, a little bit mental freshness, but also something in using a squad. So if you only play the same starting 11, suddenly you need a player, and if that player have never played a minute throughout the season, it's a little bit tricky to get into the rhythm. And there's also competition, and as I just said before,
the Champions League.
Yeah, Champions League, exactly. There's so many games, so you need to do a little bit of rotation as well. But the best players, of course, play.
Talking about the league, and we were touching on transitions and things like that. I was wondering, you've played kind of a lot of long balls, and I think you're sort of third when it comes to switches of play as well. I was just wondering if you could explain kind of why, with this team, maybe Brentford as well, but we're certainly seeing it this year in the data, why you enjoy that switch of play.
I'm a big believer of trying to play and run on the side and produce crosses. So I think the more we can play and run out here on the side and try to come into a breakthrough situation where you either can cross, I think it's a great crossing position from here, or of course into this half space situation. But the better you can do that, the better you can create. And sometimes you need to go from one side to another, and with that you use the switch.
Because one thing I've noticed was that Porro, last season, and like you've said yourself, every team's right, no team's right, no team's wrong in terms of how they want to play. Porro, instead of kind of coming in a little bit more, has kind of stayed there, and it's been a really dynamic pairing that you've got there for that switch. I saw Jed Spence doing that switch over to this side. Is there anything kind of in that in terms of getting Porro to stay out wide?
Again, I think it's getting the right balance right. I think it's fine to have fullbacks inside. I've done that myself sometimes. I think it's just how do we look behind the ball when we attack. So attacking while still defensive thinking. So what I call the rest defending. So, and a lot of teams either do the 3-2 like this. They can do the 2-3 or 4-1 depending on how you see it. But just thinking have enough players so it's not too open for counterattacks the other way. So I think that's part of it.
And another thing that's really important to you, or maybe you talked about it last year, was how close your shots were to goal to get that XG up. And actually it's only Brentford, West Ham and Arsenal who are getting closer to the goal when it comes to their shots than yourselves.
So I got beaten by my own medicine.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Was that one of those things that was really important to you? And is there a decision that you've got to make based on the profile of the squad of what you kind of wait to bring in and what you really want to bring in?
Short answer is no. It's more what I believe in terms of principles. And I said about the crosses, it's a big thing. I'm a big believer in trying to make the chance big. So you play a little bit Sunday League, or do you?
Yeah, I dabble,
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. So when you're out here, we agree that right or left-footed, James?
Right-footed.
Right-footed. So you're here and you think, now I'm going to put it into the top corner, right?
Yeah.
That's
you told me off about this last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. top corner, okay? Yeah. That's the same picture that these fantastic Premier League players have. But it's not that often they could put it into the top corner. I would say the good players in here in a good position, in balance, of course, shoot. I know there's 60,000 out there that are very, very clever and say shoot. And sometimes you need to shoot. But we need to create the chance big. So the probability, simple math, of scoring is way less here. It looks very good, but the probability is very, very little. And in here, if you shoot from here, there's a much, much bigger chance. So it's about how can you create the chance big. That means in this situation, hopefully, another pass, either here and then across, hopefully. where we score direct, or maybe then drops here, and then we shoot, of course, and there's hopefully a bigger chance of scoring. So it's just something I believe in. We try to train it, show clips to the players of shooting
Doing
from...
it right.
Yeah, now they're smiling, so they understand that maybe another pass. Yeah.
Last year we were talking about the gaps and how you could counter-attack brilliantly, which Brentford did superbly last year. I saw it in some of the moments against Man City with those great runs. Some teams still do sit in deep, but you still want to create those great clear-cut opportunities. When you've got a team that is in that low block and you're trying to break them down, what's important to you?
Of course, that's difficult. I think it's difficult for any team in the world to play against a team that is maybe having 5-4-1 or whatever, 5-3-2 or even a 4, it doesn't matter. But to have so many players behind the ball is very difficult. Very, very difficult.
Shoot!
True, but I would say no, wait. But again, I believe, can we have some play and run on the side, but use crosses? Because if they clear it maybe a corner and a set piece, then we hopefully have some strength there. Or maybe then drops here and then we can shoot. But it is difficult. It's difficult just to play through, to have 10, 15, 20 passes and just make beautiful 1-2, you're through. That's very difficult. It's not that we don't want to try, but I really believe in the crosses.
Is it always kind of going to those crosses, or is there that moment where you kind of go, Xavi Simons, you're Xavi Simons, do your thing?
No, of course. When he's in this position, for example, he needs to find out, does he slide one in or to play it here, or does he shoot? That's absolutely fine.
You've also got great runners, like both your fullbacks are willing to make those runs that kind of create space, take players away. I'd like to touch on Jed Spence. I think he's really unique. Now, he's got 88 for sprint speed, 87 for acceleration, which is obviously very, very high, but he's also right-footed, playing on that left side. How do you kind of manage the fact that he's right-footed but playing as a left-back?
I think it gives a different balance, because you can also say if you open up on the inside and then he, have everything in here, and if he's the widest player and we have the winger going inside, then he can go in his good right foot and you do the in-swing crosses, for example. So it gives you different opportunities. Of course, when he comes in the overlap, it's not as natural with his left foot, but of course he can still use it. But Jet can also play to the right as a fullback, so I just got 3 very good fullbacks, which is very good, and we're going to need everyone because we're going to play, hopefully, a lot of games.
Thank you, Thomas. And
Pleasure.
thank you to EA Sports FC. FC 26 is out now. The club is yours.